Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Hawken. I'm KageKaze, and I'm going to be going over the latest patch, the Raider update, which of course includes the new Mech, the Raider. Now before I go into the Raider in depth, I'd like to actually go over a few little things that have happened with this patch that have changed up the game just a tiny bit. There's been a few new details added, and some of the features that I could only speculate on in the past have now finally been opened up with this patch. One thing that's kind of nice to see is this ability to sort your mechs. As you can see here, everything is in a particular order. You couldn't change this before. You've got these arrows now here that you can actually change the order. So you can now put the mech that you want to use the most in the top and then change the order so you can switch between them very quickly within match play. Another change to the system is that they now have added the taunts that we had speculated about before, how they were going to work. We can see here on the Raider, I have a "That Just Happened" taunt, which is a nice bow. And of course, that one is free. Every mech gets one free taunt. Then they have a second taunt that you have to purchase with, of course, either Hawken points or meteor points. And of course, we can see here, this is the Rooster. It's funny, I like it. Now, every chassis has a particular taunt, and it's based on being light, medium, or heavy. So if I go into the Reaper, and we go into his taunts, you can see that he's something different. The Pleasure is All Mine, and the Dirty Dog. And then lastly, we can go here into one of the heavy mechs. We'll pick up the Rocketeer, and go into his. We can see he has the Good Luck, Have Fun, and the Shotgun. Aside from those, every mech has holo taunts, and the holo taunts are given to all the mechs. Doesn't matter what type of chassis you are, you'll get all the same ones. So you've got, of course, here you can see Better Cluck Next Time, OMG Victory, Poor Bercudio, Lord of the Dash, and No 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 No. Now these act just like your countermeasures. You can select whichever one you want to equip at the time, and then all you have to do is hit refill to fill it up with your points, either Hawken or Meteor. And you can of course pick 1, 10, 50, or 100. So you see the price goes down just a bit for each additional purchase that you make. So you get a better discount if you buy more. Aside from that, there are a few new camos that have been added to the game. We have a Woodland camo, which is a very standard camo. It looks very nice, actually. It's just kind of a shame that there's no real green areas in the game. You've got a Brainwave, which is green and blue brain pattern. Yep, well, that's unique. Interesting. And then there's the Hazmat. Do you want to make a splash? Do you want to make a statement? There you go. You can be quite fashionable in your multicolored camo there. Alright, those are all quite nice to see. But what's even nicer to see is this. We're going to go here into the play feature, and we can see that we have quick match, but we also have the server browser. The server browser has returned to the game, and it's quite nice to see this, honestly, because it's really hard to get into a game with friends. The friends basically join as a party is not implemented in the game still. So now what you can do is find an empty server and join it, and have everybody join in and get the game populated. And so as people use quick match, they'll try and get into your game. Now keep in mind that your ranking will affect this. Currently, any match that has no people in it will have a rank of 0. The rating is affected by the average ranking of all the players in there. So if you all join in and you're all fairly high, you're going to be attracting those same people. If you've got a mixture of people, then you might get a mixture of other people as well. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about the Raider, because that is what this patch is all about. This is the new guy. He is a B-type chassis, making him a medium mech with a good mix of power and speed. And he comes with some very unique weapons, stuff that we've never seen before, and it's kind of cool. What we have here is a special ability of Blitz. For a short duration, your movement speed is increased. This mech, with the Blitz special ability active, can rival, if not beat, the speed of any A-class mech. This guy can move just as fast as a light mech, and that's in walking speed and dashing speed. Even better, with the Blitz ability active, you can fire your weapons while dashing, which no other mech can do. You need to chase an opponent down, then you can do it. You can chase them down and fire while they're running away. Another new weapon. This is the secondary weapon that really makes this mech work and makes this mech very versatile. This is the Corsair-KLA. It's a dual mode grenade launcher, basically. It fires either a slug grenade, which is its default mode. When you start a match, you're in slug mode. It's a long-range grenade. It seems to have a longer arc than the regular grenade launcher, so it flies a lot further. It doesn't fly straight like a TOW, obviously, but its arc is shallow enough that you can pretty much hit what you want to at long range fairly easily. You can even hit the battleship in siege mode with this weapon. It does a lot of damage, but has a 4-second cooldown on it. You can alternate modes with this weapon by using your special weapon, the middle mouse button, by default. Speaking of default keys, please keep in mind if you update Hawken and you haven't played it in a while, for say, you're going to have to reset your bindings. For some reason, Hawken does have an issue that every time you patch, the video settings reset, the key bindings reset, everything, even audio, everything resets, so just reset everything. The alternate mode on the Corsair-KLA is a MIRV airburst rocket. You fire it, it fires out in a spread, and it does quite a bit of damage, but it's very short range. And again, that's what makes this mech versatile. Not only is it a medium chassis, but it's got a weapon that has both long range and short range capabilities, and you can switch between them on the fly with your special move button. Now the mech is better suited for short to medium range combat because we'll see here the primary weapon that it comes equipped with is a Reflak 35. This is basically a modified mini flak. Fires just about as fast, has about the same attack power. If you take a look at here, we've got about a 3 and 3 rate of fire and damage. If I compare that to... nope, that's my Reaper. Compare that to... say a Scout here. There we go. Mini flak. You can see it's a 3 and a 3. So it's got about the same speed, about the same damage. But what makes this shotgun or flak cannon unique is that the shots will ricochet off of walls. So this mech can respond to threats around corners. Now, there's not too many areas in maps that I've noticed that you could really use it effectively, and forcing use of it is usually not intended. It's basically there for the situation when it calls upon it. And that's going to make this mech a very difficult one to kind of show you how well he can respond to threats. Because a lot of the things that this mech, the Raider, can do is very dependent upon what situation you're in. He basically has a response for almost anything that he can run across. Now before we move on, of course, I want to show you the secondary weapon. This is the T-32 Bolt. Let's go ahead and equip that now. We'll show it to you. This is a weapon, I think it looks really cool. It's not my preferred weapon. I do like the look of it though. This is a quick loading shotgun. It's actually 3 shotgun barrels. And you can fire it quickly by constantly clicking. So it's a lot like the Reaper in that it has the one of 2 semi-auto fire weapons in the game. Every other weapon is typically automatic. So this one you can keep clicking and it'll fire. It's got a fairly slow rate of fire. But if you charge it by holding down the mouse button, it will load up to 3 of these shotgun shots for one big burst of damage. So essentially, and again this plays with the mech's key strength of being versatile. Essentially you can choose between having a mini flak and a flak with this weapon. So you either fire very quickly with small arms fire, basically firing very fast each shot, or charge it up and fire all 3 at once for a very large burst of damage over time. And of course, just like any other charge-up weapon, if you hold it down, the heat efficiency is massive. This mech can pretty much fire for days if you're charging it up constantly. So we'll try and show off this mech and its capabilities in a match to kind of give you an idea of how it plays. So go ahead and load him up now. I am building my mech to be very damage oriented because what you will see is this mech is very much a burst damage mech. He'll go in, he'll be doing a lot of damage. So let's see if I can't find myself a match to show you some gameplay. Alright, we're starting off here with some siege, and as you can see here, my secondary weapon is on the right. That is my grenade launcher, and you can see I'll fire it. And you'll see there it does a nice long-range grenade. Now, unlike any other grenade launchers in the game, you cannot detonate it in midair. You are giving up the ability to detonate your weapons in midair for versatility. So kind of try and see if I can't hit a target to show off the kind of damage it can do. A little tricky here, having to move back and forth here. There we go. See there, quite a burst of damage. It's a good weapon, but because you can't detonate it in midair, it's not very good to use in short-range encounters because you have a very easy chance of missing. Since you can't treat it like a tow, you can't treat it like a grenade launcher, you pretty much have to be sure of your shot if you plan to use this mode in anything other than long range. But for long range engagements, it's actually quite nice, because, you know, let's say you have a sniper up there, I could fire the grenade, and as you can see, it goes right over where I want it to. Has a shallow arc, moves fairly straight. Let me show you the reflex since there's nobody here. You can kind of see how this works. Notice how I'm firing and you can see the bullets bouncing around the wall. It's exactly how it works. So if you have an idea that someone might be around the corner, you can kind of fire and hit them with that. Now again, I find that this weapon is kind of limited in the game in its current implementation because there's only really 2 maps for Siege and Missile Assault. There's a few maps for TDM and Deathmatch. I don't really play Deathmatch mode, so I don't know if there's better opportunity in those at all. Let's kind of try and fire long range here, give you an idea. No, not really seeing anything. This might not be the best map to show it off, or the match, but we'll give it a try, keep going. Let me go ahead and switch modes so you can at least see that while we're waiting for this. You can see on the right it kind of transforms. And you've got a little bit of a delay between when you hit that and when it transforms. And again, you start off with the slug mode, so you can get used to that, and you can kind of tell which mode you're in just by looking at it at a glance, because it's very obvious if it's going horizontal or vertical. And so this is the mode that's short range. And you can see here if I fire it, they fire off and then they explode in midair. And both modes have a 4-second reload time, so you can't lower the reload by switching modes, and you basically get equal opportunity to attack long range or short range since they both have the same reload speed. Oh, I think I kind of missed with that one. Let's pull back just a tiny bit. Now, one thing I did not mention earlier is that the default weapon for this mech is the EMP. So this is, as far as I know, the only mech that starts off with the EMP as default equipment. So once again, they give you a weapon that is exceptionally versatile, can be used for offense, can be used for defense. And speaking of which, the Blitz, the special ability of this mech, is great in that it is usable in many situations. If you need to run away, you can activate Blitz and run away. You know, if you need to get away, it's great. Kind of sucks to use a special ability for that, especially since it allows you to fire while dashing. Ooh, nasty. But, you know, if you don't need to fire while dashing, then there's no point, right? Just no point in holding on to it. Just go ahead and run away if that's what you need, because you can always come back later, right? So let's see if I can't get some damage here to show you what this can do. Very clever, very clever. Okay. Let's see if I can't find him and hit him with something. There's an enemy, was an enemy here. I don't see him anymore. They were below me, of course. Alright, let's look for someone gathering energy, shall we? Alright, I see enemies above me here. Well, it looks like I'm going to have kind of a hard time giving you guys some decent footage here, so I apologize on that one. But I do want to stress that I find this mech to be very nice, very useful, and the ability to respond to many different threats. Let me try and... There you can see that was a lot of damage in my Merv airburst mode. And of course I go down. But I wanted to do some damage with it so you can kind of see what it can do. As you can see, this mech does a lot of damage. Now, in this patch, they changed the way explosive weapons work. And that's kind of important for deciding whether or not you want to use the Raider, in my opinion. What they've done is they've increased the feathering of explosive weaponry. And if you're not familiar with feathering and how it works in games, basically, at any point that you hit someone with an explosive weapon, hitting them dead on does maximum damage, right? Anytime that you hit near them, like, for example, in most first-person shooter games, if you've got a rocket launcher, a lot of people will aim at a person's feet rather at the person themselves because it can be hard to hit with the actual rocket. The whole point is to hit them with the splash damage of the rocket. Well, anytime you do that, typically the damage of the explosion is reduced the further out you are away from the source of the explosion. So you say someone's about halfway out from the source, then they might take 50% damage, but usually it doesn't quite work linearly like that. Usually there's a big inside explosion and then there's an outer radius. It used to be that explosive weapons did quite a bit of damage, even in the outer radius in this game. I mean, there was a reduction, but it's not as much as it was now. Now it's far less. So what that does is that balances out the explosive weapons, because quite honestly, the explosive weapons, in many regards, were just a bit too powerful. I mean, you think about it, the CRT recruit that you start with starts with a TOW, and the TOW is one of the most versatile and most powerful weapons in this game. I leveled my CRT recruit up to 25 first because I found that I did the best with him. The TOW rocket was a great weapon, especially since I could explode it in midair, and you could basically explode a rocket in midair near a person and do quite a bit of damage. So now it doesn't do as much damage, but it's still lethal. Still very lethal. So you can't underestimate it. Ooh, well, I hit him with the MIRV, but it was just outside of radius, I think. Alright. Let me see if I can't... I gotta repair. Unfortunately, I'm spending a lot of time running around and repairing. Let me see if I can't get in, maybe use my Blitz ability to kind of show you how fast this mech can get going, and, you know, basically just shoot while I'm dashing. Let's see if I can't do that. Alright. Couple enemies up top, it looks like. Wow, look at that. How much damage did that do? Yeah, this weapon is... This mech is all about burst damage. Because of the long cooldown between shots, it can do that damage and not be, you know, overpowered, because you're not going to be doing it a lot. Now, because these weapons don't have a mid-air explosion radius on them, I think that's where the feathering comes in very much important here. Especially with this air burst MIRV. Alright, looks like he might get me unless I can... Oh, no. Here we go. And that kind of exists with the balance too here, because with the slug grenade you'll see that the explosion radius doesn't look like it's very large. Let me go ahead and open that up again and kind of try and hit somebody with that. You can see there I was able to fire towards that guy, kind of made him retreat. If I shoot at an area... Oh, this is bigger than I remember. Okay. It's decent. It's a decent explosion. It's probably the same as the TOW, quite honestly. But again, because I can't blow it up in midair, the feathering is even more important to me, because I can't guarantee that I'm going to have a certain distance to my target when I blow up that rocket. So let's go ahead, let's put it back in MIRV mode. I personally like running around in MIRV mode because you've seen the amount of damage that it is capable of. Alright, let's dash, and I'll use my Blitz. And you can see here I'm kind of dashing and I'm shooting at that hostile mech. And, you know, I went in there expecting to die. I just wanted to show off the Blitz ability. It's very cool. It's, again... Trying to show this mech off in the best light is very difficult, especially in a match like this. I can respond to threats around corners with my shotgun. You see there, it's very easy to see which way it goes, and it does bounce off at angles you would expect. So I can respond around corners, I can shut an enemy mech down with my EMP, I can fire at long-range target with my grenade launcher, I can switch to... Really? Okay, I... killed somebody apparently. I can switch to MIRV, and you can see there that is very much short range right there. Let's go ahead and see if we can't hit someone again. There you see quite a bit of damage there. Unfortunately they are a raider as well, which meant he did quite a bit of damage to me. So if you see an enemy raider, be careful, especially in short range. They will do a lot of damage to you. Alright, let me see, since I've shown a bit of the rockets, I'll just go ahead and use the shotgun to give you guys an idea of its power before I move on to a different match, and I'll show you the other shotgun. So just kind of go in, I'm just going to do this without... It's kind of long range, so that's not the best indicator right there, is it? Let's see what we can do. This match is getting close to ending. Let's get around behind somebody here. There you go. See, kind of at short range, it's doing a bar of damage on that mech right there. And I'm taking a bunch of damage. That's okay. Again, just kind of showing off the capabilities of the mecha. And then what I'll do here is, real quick, just kind of give you a sense of speed here. Because I don't think that was a pretty good sense of speed earlier. Is say you need to escape. Let's go ahead and go back into the game. So we're here in the base, and I'm going to go ahead and dash forward, and I'll use the ability, and just notice how fast I'm going. It's still going. I've still got it. 3, 2, 1, 0, and then boom. I was able to pretty much traverse a large portion of the map by using that. Alright. Excellent. So what I'll do is I'm going to stop this here, and I will go and outfit myself with the other shotgun, and then you can kind of see what that is capable of, and you can basically make an informed opinion and decision about this mech and decide you want to spend your hard-earned Hawken points or even your real cash with meteor points. Alright, here we are in the same server, different map. I've outfitted myself with the 32 bolt, and as you see, it's on the left. I really like the look of this gun. It's pretty cool. Let me kind of show you give you an idea of the rate of fire here. Let's kind of get something that's easy to see against. So I can shoot. As you see, it's a little slower. It does build up heat if I fire it rapid like that, but if I hold it down, you'll see how it starts to go 1, 2, 3, and then you can let go for all 3 barrels. It's kind of hard to tell if you can actually see more bullets coming out of it. Yeah, it looks like it does. So you should get a decent amount of damage out of it. Light to medium mechs will probably get a bar or 2 taken off just from the sheer heavy hitting ability of it. So let's go ahead and see if I can't find someone. Now, unfortunately, as you can see, if I dash forward, I lose the charge, but if I dash to the side, I maintain it. So if you're using this weapon, you want to make sure that if you're going to dash forward, you probably want to use your Blitz ability so you don't lose the charge, assuming you're trying to follow up on somebody and hit them with that ability. So you see there, I did a single bar of health against that target at pretty long range for a shotgun, actually, so not bad. Unfortunately, I have to pull back. It's boxed in just a tiny bit, but that's okay. So this gun is not my personal favorite. I like the Reflak. I like that one a lot. It's got rapid fire. It honestly reminds me of the Mini Flak. I like the Mini Flak. It does quite a bit of damage in close range with a good amount of fire. See, there we go. And I guess I just did 2 points of damage with a fully charged shotgun blast there. Oops. So if you are good about charging it and holding down the firing mechanism, then this might be a good one for you. Quite honestly, it's just not my preferred style. I don't mind the semi-auto nature of it, because I really like the gun on the Reaper that does the same thing. I just have an issue with the holding down. It's just not something I often do. I tend to either ignore it or don't use it as effectively as I could. Kind of try and get around him. No, that didn't quite work out. I believe, yeah, he had a point D Vulcan, so he had a much easier time of taking me out than I did him. So its damage isn't bad, but obviously there are other guns that are far more dangerous in close range, such as the Vulcan. But it's definitely a gun for strategy, I'd say, because you want to basically have it ready for surprise attack. So again, this mech with its armaments definitely strikes me as more of a mid-range, probably best at short range, because that Merv launcher can feather out very heavily at medium range. But that's why you have the slug, as you can see there. Just went ahead and popped him with a slug there. Whoops. And unfortunately, I was not lucky enough to take out my opponent. Looks like he had a bit of help. But that's okay. Pretty much just here to show off the weapons. Winning or losing at this point is really not the intention. Let's see if I can't get a little bit more footage of using it. Oh, you know what? This gives me an opportunity here, actually, to show you the range of the grenade launcher. Hey, when life gives you a battleship, you make battleship bait. I don't know. Alright, so as you can see here, I can fire up with a high arc, and there it goes. It's actually going to hit this battleship. So unlike the, I believe the standard grenade launcher cannot reach that distance. So as you can see, again, this mech, its most valuable asset is versatility. It's not going to do any one thing exceptionally well, but what it can do is come up on an enemy, provide a massive amount of burst fire to help take an enemy down, to kill a weakened enemy, or to say weaken an enemy for someone else. Basically, he's kind of like a high damage, close range sharpshooter, really. Sharpshooters excel at doing high damage at long range to help teammates finish off the enemy. This mech does a lot of damage in short range. Now you might think, doesn't that kind of encroach on the Reaper's territory? Well, no, the Reaper, in my opinion, is not so much a super high damage class. The Reaper is kind of a mid-range strike and move type of mech. It basically wants to hit the enemy quickly, and then it wants to pull out and then do it again later. Whereas this mech typically likes getting into the thick of things because of its high damage abilities, its ability to chase down enemies, and of course do a whole bunch of damage while it's doing that. So let's see if we can't at least get someone else with this shotgun to get a rough idea of what it can do. I got a lot of enemies here though, and I don't see hardly anyone come in. See, the downside here is we are on the bad side of this map. This map is still a bit unbalanced. I'm hoping they change it. Unfortunately, it was not to be in this patch. Although they did add a new map that is unskinned. And you can't get it on normal servers. You have to go into a custom server to play it. But hey, it's there. There we go. See, that wasn't bad. That was about 2 points of damage to a medium chassis. What's going on here? Hey, we're kind of bottlenecking each other, don't you think? Oh, come on. As you can see there, I kind of chased him down with my ability to move really fast. This mech outrunning light mechs is probably its biggest strength. If you need to rush in, or hell, if you even need to escape, this is the mech. So, I suppose final thoughts are in order then on that. Yeah, very good mech, very versatile, high damage. Obviously offset and balanced by the fact that it can't do it quickly. And I find its versatility very nice. I like having a response for different types of targets. I do miss the ability to blow up my grenades in midair. But if you're looking for a mech that can respond to any threat with minimal disadvantage, and that's the key, right? Just because it can't do any one thing the greatest also means that when it does do what it does, it doesn't have a major disadvantage. So say, for example, sharpshooters, obviously very great at long range, high damage, but if someone gets up on them in a short range firefight, they are pretty much going to die, especially to quick mechs. Any mech that focuses with explosives is going to have a hard time hitting agile targets as well. You're basically relying on your own ability to aim. And honestly, this patch has really helped out with the balance between ballistic and explosive weaponry. Before, explosives really ruled the day. Now ballistics really have a chance to shine again, because enemies that miss with their miss with their explosives are not as dangerous as they used to be. Goodbye. Alright, so that's pretty much it for my look at the Raider here. It's a good mech, I think, and hopefully I've helped you to decide if you would like to spend your money on it. If you have any questions regarding it, or honestly any feedback about how I've gone over this mech, I definitely feel free to ask in the comment section below. Let me know any feedback that you have, because I would like to continue to review the mechs as they come out, so that it gives everybody an informed opinion about whether or not they'd like to do it. Possibly maybe even spark some people to come back to the game if they've left after a while, because quite honestly I stopped playing after a bit, and every time they release a new mech gives me a whole new reason to come in and play again. And I find myself reinvigorated and wanting to go out and just tearing apart enemies in a whole new play style. And that's the kind of the key thing here. Yep, down. Oh well. Quite alright. I don't care for this shotgun, quite honestly, but that doesn't mean it's a bad weapon. It's just not the weapon for me. So yeah. There you go. Alright, so what I'll do before I end this is I'll show you the bonuses for the weapons, and I think that'll do it. Alright, now that you've seen him in action, I'm just going to quickly go over the bonuses that you can expect for each weapon. Let's go ahead and start with the alternate weapon, since it's the one that makes the Raider what he is. You start with the 0.25 second reduction in transformation time. As you saw, the transformation between long range to short range was fairly quick. So you're getting only 1/4 of a second off of that. Quite honestly, it seems like a very minor perk to be given, especially if you're used to firing it and then switching modes after you've fired it. So for example, you engage a long range target, you fire off the slug, and you're about to close the distance, you'll probably transform it as you're moving in. I don't really think that's a great perk, but it's there in case you need it. At level 2, the Corsair gains a airburst mode range, so 10% additional range on the airburst mode. So that means that the slug part of it gets absolutely no benefit for hitting level 2. So that's kind of unfortunate. So it means that the weapon becomes more of a short range kind of thing there. Basically it kind of leans you more towards the short range rather than being more versatile. Although you still have the versatility, it would be nice to see if it had an additional bonus to the slug or something like that. Something maybe a little more creative. But, you know, longer range on the airburst is kind of nice, because as you saw, there were a few points where even though it looked like the airburst was going to hit and do full damage, they were just at that feathering range that it didn't quite do at all. Lastly, you do get some nice heat reduction, 5%, so that'll keep you out in the battle longer. You'll be able to keep firing, and that's great. So let's go ahead and look at the special ability while we're here. You have duration increased by 1 second, so that's pretty standard. Almost all the special abilities as they rank up get the same thing. We get a 5% movement bonus increase when it's used, so that's excellent, so you can chase down faster and run away. And then lastly, the cooldown reduced by 5 seconds, so again, kind of standard. Alright, let's go ahead and look at the weapons. We're looking at the Reflak. At level 1, the Reflak gets a 3% heat generation bonus, so basically you can fire longer. That's awesome, especially considering it's a rapid fire flak cannon. I like that. At level 2, it gets a 5% maximum spread reduction, and at level 3, 5% spread increase per shot reduction. It's honestly pretty standard for a weapon like that. So basically what it means is it's going to be more efficient at the first level, it's going to be more accurate at the second, and then at the last level you can sustain fire while maintaining a bit more accuracy. That's fine. Let's go ahead and look at the T-32 and see what it gets. At level 1, you get a 5% effective range. That's nice, honestly, especially with a weapon that can charge up like that. Having an additional range on a shotgun that's got a charge mechanic is quite nice. It means you'll be able to engage targets a lot further out and do a decent damage without having to get too terribly close. It's only a 5% change, but that still can help out. At level 2, it loses 3% heat generation, so more efficient. Honestly, again, that's another one that I don't quite care for, because if you use it right and you fire when you're supposed to, you're not going to really run into the heat generation problem. Even when you fire it quickly, the heat generation on this weapon is not really that much to be worried about. But it can be nice, again, so it's one of those things where it's not one I really care for, but then again, it's a weapon I don't really care for. But if you like to fire quickly, that can be a little bit nice for you. And then lastly, a 7% reduction in spread. So that is even nicer. So now that you can charge it up, because when you charge it up, you notice you get a nice wide spread. So now that spread is kind of reduced. You'll be able to focus your damage as you charge up the shotgun. Alright, well that should do it. Again, this has been The Raider. Looking forward to any comments or feedback you might have as we go forward. Any information that I might not have covered, or any information that you feel could be done without going forward on these videos whenever they release new mechs, let me know. I'll be more than happy to tweak things around as needed. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.